So welcome to the 5th European Deep Dive. We've got in total 8 events happening in this series. This is actually the 6th event because there was also one in-person event hosted by the DACES network last November, which was the Do Impact Digital Day. And then these are online, short, compact hour sessions where we do exactly that, like deep dive into one of the locations within the consortium. Today, we are in Italy, and we also always have one special guest who either presents a tool, a concept, a project, or something that they are working on. So today, Italian Do Impact Perspectives and Consul Democracy, we're going to be talking about, amongst other things, open source for citizen participation. What do we mean by open, transparent, and democratic governance? And before we go on, I just wanted to give a kind of overview of what we're doing here. So the Do Impact project is a 2-year project, which actually, unfortunately, it's been a great 2 years. It's coming to an end on the 1st of September. We're gearing up to our final conference that's taking place in Brussels on the 7th of July in the European Economic and Social Committee, followed by the final event in Transnational Final Workshop happening in Atelier de Tanner on the 8th. So that's an in-person event on the 7th and 8th of July. We'll be joined by around 130 social economy enabling organizations and SMEs. But we still have 3 online sessions that are taking place and some local activity that is coming to a close in the participating countries of the project. So the project has been around accelerating the digital transformation and upskilling social economy enabling organizations and SMEs on the use of data and data-driven innovation. We have had over 40 local regional training activities. This online series is part of that piece of work. And in parallel, there is a transnational learning journey taking place. So it's been quite a busy time for Do Impact. This 5th European Deep Dive, it's an hour that we're going to have together. I'm going to be in conversation with our consortium members from Fondazione Piemonte Innova and Torino Social Impact, and then also with our guests from Consul Democracy. Just as you know, the event is being recorded, the cameras and microphones are enabled. Please put your hand up if you have a question, feel free. The idea is that it's more like an informal opportunity to come together. So if any of this resonates and you would like to ask any questions or share your own views or what's happening in your location, then please feel free, or also use the chat. And if you want to keep in touch with the project, we have a very alive online space on LinkedIn, which is Do Impact. On LinkedIn, we have over 1,000 followers now, and our intention is to keep that community that has been developed over the last 2 years very much alive. So today we have with us my lovely colleagues Alessia Ibba and Francesca Oldani. Alessia is a project manager at Torino Social Impact. She supports the implementation and management of EU-funded projects in the field of social economy and works on coordinating partnerships and project activities. She contributes to the management of the EU Project Hub for Social Economy, and her expertise is in gender studies, social inclusion. She holds a master's degree in gender studies, and she's interested in the intersection of gender inequalities and sustainabilities. That's a personal interest. So welcome, Alessia. Also, Francesca Oldani. Francesca, you're a project manager at Fondazione Piemonte Innova. Your focus there is the analysis of European, national and local funding schemes to identify relevant proposals for Fondazione Piemonte Innova, specifically focused on third sector social economy organizations, enterprises, and SMEs within the ICT cluster that you oversee. And your experience comes also from the development and working on emergency projects, particularly focusing on economic development, innovative solutions linked to climate change. You hold a master's degree focused on project management for international cooperation and local development. So thank you for being with us today. And last but not least, we have Arnaud Lesur. He's an invited guest to our conversation today. Arnaud is based in Berlin, Germany, but he is from France. He has been part of Consul Democracy Foundation since the beginning of this year and focused on driving partnerships towards financial sustainability. So maybe you can also share some expertise and insights from that, because I think all of our organizations work on this area of financial sustainability. And the role is around the expansion of civic tech and the participation ecosystem. So also working around operations and project delivery, and you hold a Bachelor of Commerce in Business and Tech Management from the Concordia University in Montreal, and you are fluent in French, English, and Spanish. So just a bit of an introduction. The idea today is that you will be in conversation with me. My name is Aneta Qureshi. I work for the DIASIS network. We are one of the also key partners of the Do Impact project. And the first part of the hour is a bit of a conversation with Francesca and Alessia to highlight some of the local initiatives that have been happening, but also in a more broader sense, the link of the social economy, upskilling around digitalization and use of data in partnerships with the city of Turin, both the city council and the metropolitan region. And then I will move on to have a conversation with Arnaud and pass on to him to give us a deep dive into what Consul Democracy does and what they're working on. So without further ado, I would like to ask, maybe starting with you, Francesca. You have been coordinating the Do Impact activity locally in Italy, in the Piemonte region. Can you give just a short overview of the Do Impact digital program that has taken place and is still taking place? Because I know you have a workshop still coming up. How do you go about designing the content of these local workshops specifically to support social economy SMEs in strengthening their digital strategies and data-driven practices? Can you talk us through some of the highlights, please?
Yes, thank you, Aneta, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Yes, when we started designing the digital programs, I think I want to underline this point. We wanted to avoid creating something too theoretical or disconnected from the everyday reality of the social economy organization. So the first step was to listen to partners, of course, of the project, to SMEs, enabling organization, in order to understand where the real needs, gaps, and challenges were. So the starting point of our work was a shared reflection. Digitalization and digital transformation are increasingly relevant for the social economy sector, but they are not always easy to approach. And we also experience that in our work, everyday work. So the point is that social economy often recognize the potential of digital tools, data, artificial intelligence, collaborative technologies, but they may face barriers in terms of skills, resources, time, organizational readiness. For this reason, the capacity building and digital program, I would say not only at local level, but also at a transnational level, started with an analysis of partners' experiences in this field, of course, in relation to digitalization processes. And we analyze internal data, existing research, direct experiences, but in addition, we develop also a questionnaire to better understand the needs and gaps of the sector. This was a a questionnaire at European level, but of course then at the local level, we focus on the Italian ones and the Italian SMEs and enabling organization that reply to the questionnaire. This analysis allowed us to define a specific strategies and to identify not only the most relevant topic to address, but also it guided us in designing a format that could be useful, practical, accessible for social economy organization. And that's why in our digital program, we include not only theoretical inputs that was necessary, of course, to provide like a participant with a clear understanding of the key concept, trends, opportunities, but we integrated with practical insights, exercises, and some activities so that a participant could experiment directly with specific digital solution and tools. We included also, of course, case studies and collaborative discussion because we believe that peer learning and the exchange of experience are essential, especially in the social economy sector, where organizations often face similar challenges, but operate in different contexts. This strategy led to design a program made up of 8 workshops organized between September 2025 and July 2026. We already have to realize 2 more workshops. And the organization was made by Fondazione Piemonte Innova, but with Torino Social Impact and Politecnico di Milano Tiresia. And we focus on several key areas which emerge from the analysis, such as digital strategies to increase social impact, data collection, impact measurement, data sharing, open data, ethical and practical application of AI, data visualization. And overall, the digital program has been designed as a practical capacity building path. And this is very important for me. The goal was to strengthen the social economy sector by supporting organizations in understanding, choosing, and using digital tools in a strategic way. So what we want to promote is not digital transformation as a purely technical process, but digital transformation as an organizational and cultural process that can really help social actors become more resilient, of course, effective and capable of generating and demonstrating their impact. That's it. I think this was my answer.
Thank you, Francesca. I think you touch on an important point, which has been resonated like across the project and across the location, that although I think we have all, as organizations, but also as SMEs, upskilled on different tools, but something more important has happened in the project, and that has been that it's not just been about tools, right? It's been about this whole shift in mindset, like what role do we have as the social economy to shape this tech reality and to have our own voice there, and to make sure that we are not just slaves of these tools, but actually being aware of them, but being aware also of what we want to achieve, right, as organizations. So I think this organizational shift in mindset, do you feel, and this is maybe a question to both of you, that across the workshops that took place, there has been some kind of shift in mindset, and do you expect these Italian workshops to like feed into a broader digital transformation and data adoption effort? I mean, when we started the project 2 years ago, we were in a slightly different reality to the reality we are in now, right? I mean, yeah, what do you feel the next step will be in terms of this transformation in Italy and beyond?
Yeah, I think, yeah, the main point is the one you already underlined and I underlined before. So the workshops are expected to produce this workshop, not only individual learning outcomes, but also shared knowledge for the ecosystem. So the expected outcome is not simply the organization learn about digital transformation, but they start to identify concrete opportunities of applying digital and database approaches in their own work. And of course, we start from, I mean, local watershed at the Italian level, but it's something that is common in all European countries. The common problem is a bit cultural. So, and also, of course, the topics. The topics we identify were not just topics interested for the local and Italian system and ecosystem, but also at European level. That's why we started with an analysis and a questionnaire and researches and experience from partners, because we found a common problem and common topics and common gaps. So again, I would say that one of the most important contribution of the Italian workshop is cultural. So digital transformation is not only a technical matter, it is also about changing mindset and building trust in data, because there is no trust everywhere on data. And the understanding the value of digital tools, making sure the technology remain aligned with the mission and values of social economy organization. So yeah, the outcome of the workshop are expected to support broader digital transformation, creating practical skills, shared methodology, ecosystem knowledge, replicable learning models, potentially behind Italy. And the final ambition is to help social economy actors, not only in Italy, of course, using digital innovation not as an end in itself, but as a means to increase their effectiveness, strengthen their social impact, make that impact more visible and measurable for the sector. Yeah.
Thank you, Francesca. Alessia, do you have anything to add? I wanted to ask you more concretely. You led on one of the transnational workshops, boosting social impact measurement capacity through digitalization and data use. Also involved in another project, which is called Adaltim. Anything to add to, more from like your point of view of actually representing the sector? Has this project attracted new organizations, or have you also managed to create this kind of new community around the topic of upskilling in terms of using data, digitalization, and so on?
Yes, first of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Yes, for us, we do impact, and in general, the local workshop that we organize are to be considered within a broader strategy for our ecosystem, and to help it in mature on the topics of digitalization. And so for us, it was Do Impact was a strategy to overcome some of the bottlenecks that organizations often face in their digital transformation, and also for us too in our digital strategy. Having the opportunity to discuss with experts about data-driven decision-making, digitalization, and etc. was fundamental for the technological evolution of the members of our ecosystem, our partners. And as you said, when project began and was written, we couldn't have thought of all the digital transformation that we are currently living. I think that the more and more the digital program was going on, AI become more and more prominent. We realized that it's really important that we step up and be ready for those challenges. And I think that Do Impact was a big part of it for our ecosystem. And for what concerned the transnational workshop that we organized, it was organized online in January, and the main topic was social impact measurement. And for us, for Torino Social Impact measurement was and still is a cornerstone for what we do daily. And of course, we realized that many things have to be done for improving social impact measurement. And what we tried to do was bringing together social economy enabling organizations from across Europe to explore how digital tools, data practices, and impact measurement methodologies can help organizations better understand, measure, and communicate social impact. We try to have several experts that contribute with a keynote speech from our spokesperson, Professor Mario Calderini, practical session and interactive discussions focus on the challenges and opportunities of social impact measurement and how digitalization can improve the data that we use for impact measurement. And as in all transnational workshop and local workshop, we try to balance the more theoretical section of the workshop with the hands-on part of it. And the workshop was also an opportunity to present a project, a European-funded project. It's called ADA Team. It's led by Triadi, which is a spin-off of the Politecnico di Milano Tiresia Research Center, which is a partner of the Do Impact project. And this project seeks to improve the integrity, transparency, and comparability of social impact information by combining advanced data management, innovative measurement algorithm, and robust impact methodologies.
Thank you. I think one thing that's resonated, like not just in the Italian activity, but in general across the board, has been this fact that Europe is at like a pivotal moment, no, in terms of its digital transformation. There's a rapid development of AI, you just mentioned that, and like data-driven innovation and digital platforms present significant opportunities. But I think Do Impact has also put on the table that apart from the opportunities, there are important questions, no, that are being raised around democratic governance, European digital sovereignty, access to data, no, and we've covered topics like GDPR, ethical use of data, ethical use of AI, and where does the power sit, and how can we distribute the value of what is being created through this tech innovation? So I think, and it's also being reinforced by your examples of what's been happening locally in Italy, I think Do Impact has had an important role to really empower social economy sector and organizations to take a key role and to be active players in this and not just passive recipients of what's going on. And that's actually really crucial if we want to make some kind of positive impact in this backdrop. I wanted to turn the conversation a little bit to your region and the city of Turin, because if anybody has visited or if you've somehow collaborated with the region, you'll know that they are extremely active in terms of being, I don't know, the capital of smart tourism, in terms of being technologically quite developed as a city. And I know that, we have the Fondazione Piemonte Innova, that is an example of this kind of digital hub, but also from your organization as Torino Social Impact, the importance of the social economy sector in this collaboration with the metropolitan region and the city. Could you unpack that a little bit for us? Like, how do you make that role? How do you create those partnerships? How does it work in practice? Maybe Alessia.
Yes, of course. Maybe just a little bit, I can talk about what Torino Social Impact is and how we were born. So Torino Social Impact is an open platform. We are a social economy ecosystem that was born out of a project of the Chamber of Commerce of Torino. In Italy, chambers of commerce can have committees, thematic committees, and in Torino, one was born on the social economy and social entrepreneurship. And with this was born Torino Social Impact in 2017, and it was supported both by the city of Torino and the metropolitan city of Torino. And in our years of activity, so from 2017 on, we have developed an ecosystem that counts 430 partners now. So our partners are all involved in social economy in different levels and in different ways, but we all have the same aim. And you think about, the smallest neighborhood organization and association that works with kids, and to the biggest banking foundation of the Piemonte region. So it's very different organizations. We have several projects, but I think that one that maybe embodies what we do on the social economy, we supported the creation of the social economy metropolitan plan, born out of the Chamber of Commerce and the Metropolitan City of Torino. It was presented last year, and it's at the 23rd social economy plan. So between 2025 and 2030, so in a 5 years plan, we have several pillars that we want to develop to improve social economy in the Torino region. So what we are is, and what we want to become is a strong ecosystem connecting social enterprises, cooperative businesses, investors, foundation, university, and public institutions. Of course, this is supported by Torino's history in the social economy, but it is also one of our objectives is to help Torino position Torino as one of the European leading hubs for the social economy and impact economy, and with the objective, of course, of attracting impact investments and advancing impact measurement practices, to become a driver of inclusion and sustainable economic development in the city, and to become a catalyst of social innovation, social cohesion, inclusion, and community well-being. So, for example, one of the projects that I work actively on is the hub on European project for social economies, so we support our partners who are smaller organizations in attracting EU-funded projects and EU funding. And in 3 years of activity, we attracted more than 9 million in the European level and around 3 million at the Turin level. So what we try to do is support social economy in a very practical way, given the history of Torino and what we want to become, so one of the leading hubs for social and impact economy.
Thanks, Alessia. It sounds fantastic, and I wish you a lot of luck in that work. Have you had experience with citizen participation projects or the concept of citizen participation?
Yes, so we have, first of all, I forgot to mention, but the 2030 Turin Metropolitan Plan for Social Economy was developed thanks to the support of our partners. So we held consultations with them on what was to be included in the plan. But also one of our projects is our community of practices. We have several community of practices on several topics. For example, we have one on gender equality. We have one on circular economy and communication. It's a place in a space in which several of our partners co-create a place of peer learning, a thematic peer learning experience for the other partners, so they share their knowledge on several topics. And we have one on citizens' participation. So that's one of our pillars, one of the topics that we work on, and we want to keep working on it.
Thank you, Alessia. Maybe that's a nice link to Arnaud. Arnaud, you work in this topic of citizen participation, right? Maybe just as an opening question, we know that citizen participation generates valuable data about people's needs, their priorities, their ideas. No, sometimes they're conflicting needs or ideas. How can, and a lot of information's generated from these processes. How can this data be used to improve public decision making, while at the same time ensuring that transparency, trust, and I underline this word, meaningful citizen involvement takes place? No, because sometimes citizen participation takes place, but actually it's at the surface. It's not really meaningful, right? So yeah, any views on that?
Hi, Anne. Thank you very much. And hello, good morning, everybody. Very happy to be here. And yeah, thank you for the question. I think it's a very good kind of like open question to start speaking about participation. About the data itself, one thing that I want to kind of like a little disclaimer or heads up about the nature of this data. I think it's quite different from any other type of data that is usually collected, because usually like data is collected through different processes, but the intent of the data is like it's a bit random sometimes. But this one, for participation, it's not about going ahead and scraping and fetching data and then how maybe we can use it. It's data that is given to be used, and it's not really of course there's a question of how we can use it, but it's like we must use it. This data has been given. We live in democratic systems, or at least we try our best for them to be democratic. For data that is given to us with this intent, it's a must that we use it, and we need to use it the best way. How to do it? Well, there's several types of data. There's deliberative data, which is mostly like making a decision as a group. And mostly what we're seeing in participation is mostly consultative data. It's just like understanding where people are at and what do they feel about a topic, or what projects do they think should come forward. In any case, the mandatory part about this data is that it's a fantastic tool for people to feel heard. And receiving basically feedback, whatever people are going to come forward with. I think that one of the most important thing to do with this data is to make sure that it's taken into account, even if it's like a fully delusional ID. I think it's very, very important to be like, hey, you know what? We appreciate the ID. I'm sure it's very popular, but very not feasible. We cannot do it. But at least me as a person who will put such a crazy ID forward, I would really appreciate just the feedback on it, just because just the feedback means that I've been heard. So yeah, it's like I think the most important is like to use it, and of course it can be consultative, and it must like kind of feed the deliberative processes in the different governments or layers or governments or even associations, like whatever kind of like decisional body. I think what's very important is that let's make sure that whenever we use this data, we kind of like give feedback on it, and we thank the people that have given it, because we also cannot take it for granted. And we are seeing it in Western Europe and in many, many different parts of the world, that people are stopping speaking because they don't feel heard. So I think it's like one of the main thing that I wanted to push forward today is that let's give feedback. Let's make sure that we are like talking about this data that is being received, and not just like letting it sit there. And even if we use it again, let's make sure that we mention that we use it. You're muted, Anita.
Sorry, have some background noise. So building on that, you work in the space of open source, and yeah, thinking about that at a time, when many of our digital services are provided through proprietary platforms, what role can open source solutions play in strengthening digital sovereignty? We hear more and more about the importance of European digital sovereignty, democratic governance, and building on what you're saying, like to encourage citizen trust in public institutions, which is not at its best point across Europe at the moment. So how does that work with this open source aspect?
Yeah, thank you very much again. I might do a little round of kind of definitions in case people are not so familiar with the different terms. Open source is basically having every backbone and every code of a digital platform being publicly available. I think that's the proper definition of it. It's so a publicly available code that can be reused in whatever fashion. There's different licenses, but I won't enter in the nitty-gritty of it. But it's made to be reused, basically. And that's basically the inverse of this will be a proprietary platform or a closed source code, where, well, actually not most, but like a lot of the tools that we're using today we don't get to access the code. We don't really know what's happening in the backend. And of course we can't replicate it nor make it better. Like the whole it's proprietary. So yeah, kind of done with the definitions, but if any of you have still some doubts as to what they mean, please ask me again the question about these definitions. In terms of I also wanted to kind of pinpoint on the timing of your question, because I don't know if some of you saw, but early June, the European Union has pushed a big open source strategy, because they are basically like seeing a lot of the advantages of open source when it comes to public administration, especially. And they basically want to boost its use and encourage the use for civil society organizations, for governments, and also for citizens to kind of boost this as a group to start and encourage the use of open source in the public administration. Also, I just saw that Italy, like very recently, also at the beginning of the year, released a massive like 3-year plan to boost open source in the public administration. Again, there's the open source. I'm a big advocate of open source when it comes to like just general use for whatever processes. But I'm quite radical and extremist when it comes to processes of public administration, because when it comes to public processes, transparency is key for trust, and these open source softwares are a great enabler of transparency because the whole system is there. And what we're seeing with a lot of governments have started using closed source systems, closed source like operating system and like ERPs, like just like these massive systems that kind of run in the back end and form and shape the public administration. Have more and more been closed source, and there's a big vendor lock-in happening. Basically, it's whenever a closed source system gets you, they make it very, very hard to for you to leave. And again, there's the issues of transparencies, but what I'm not so much concerned about the transparency. I'm actually most concerned about the fact that these administrations are basically stuck in a system that is not very flexible. And again, the system is made for them to stay, not for them to get that much value. Even if great value can be done from closed source, because there's usually much more, like funds going towards profits. Profits will shape kind of like developments. But then that's also a thing that we need to do as a society, kind of like make sure that the development also is pushed towards open source, collaborative solutions. A few advantages that I also wanted to point out, but you'll see in the presentation of Consul, I kind of like lay them out. It's the whole fact that these codes are publicly available. They are in some ways publicly modifiable. Anyone can come in, anyone with the technical skills could come in and be like, hey, I think this is great, but it can even be better, and push a feature, propose it. Like there's a whole collaborative element. And when it comes to public processes, I find it's very cool that anyone could come in and be like, hey, I think it will be cool if this feature comes in, or I feel like this group is excluded because this is not happening. Let's put it. And the whole collaborative element really doesn't happen in the closed source environment. And I think as a society, we should take advantage of it.
Thank you, Arnaud. I think your views are really enriching and build on the learning journey that we've been going through on this kind of importance of building trust. And I think you illustrate that nicely with your explanation of what open source can bring to these processes. I've stopped sharing my screen because I believe you have something to share with us.
Yes. Oh. Mm-hmm. Can you see my screen?
It's coming up. Yes.
Fantastic. I'm having sounds good. So yeah, I'll start just on the flow that I found. I will continue on to introduce you to Consul Democracy, the organization I work for. As Anita mentioned earlier, I joined the organization in January this year, but it's been 11 years. We are around pushing participation, digital participation, in the world, mostly in Europe, but also well, you'll see. I'll show you a map later. But yeah, basically we're pushing for this participation tool to also shape our society into a more open, transparent, and democratic one. Before I jump into actually what we do, I also want to kind of like look back to the. I'm gonna have to. Sorry about this. You got spoiled. I'm trying to use the arrows. Oh, I cannot use the arrows. Okay, it's going to be a, sorry about this. It's going to be a scroll that is very sensitive. Worst case, let's do it like this. Sorry about this. Okay. Okay, good. So yeah, the context here. There's, I think it's very, how do you say? It's very flagrant in Western Europe that people are starting to stop believing in governments. For certain groups, it's a progress, like it's a like it's been happening for ages. But now we're seeing more and more parts of the society, stopping believing, and automatically this leads them to. But this stopping believing is the consequence of a lack of trust, because we are basically, people don't really feel heard. They are pushing at the local level. They are pushing things, and even if it's happening, some consultations are happening. A lot of times, they're not really. Again, this lack of feedback that I was mentioning earlier is I find it super important, because when people don't feel heard, they will disengage. And we can, a reason for this is also the methods that are used. I think most of the methods that are used in participation, it's changing a bit. The digitization is in some regions of the world. Torino is a very good example. Like, digitization is taking a big part, but for the vast majority, the methods are still quite outdated, and they are basically the same methods that we were using in the 60s, 70s when we started our current like institutional processes. And the direct consequence of this, people basically checking out, is that there's less and less people that are deciding. So the whole legitimacy, there's a big legitimacy deficit when it comes to decisions being made, and we enter in a loop here where decisions are not made with people, not for people, and just like we enter in a loop that I believe we can break, and that's also part of the mission of. It's going to be a fun one with these slides. Sorry about this. Of Consul Democracy. I
think maybe you just need to scroll a little bit and wait, because we see it in a bit of a delay.
Okay, good. My arrows are not working. I can actually use my arrows now. I think I need to click on it. All good, but thank you. So yeah, the mission at Consul Democracy. Sorry for the flow of this. To counter the context and quite the negative trends that we're seeing, is to help transform societies into open, inclusive, and democratic living systems, where every voice counts. Again, people are heard and their voice are counting. Governments act transparently, and in which we shape a common future together. We do this through three different pillars. The main one being the tech pillar, which I will elaborate in a minute right after this slide. We maintain and develop open source participation tools. It's mostly used by municipalities around the world, but also by civic society organizations. It's a participation tool. It's how to make decisions together. It can be used in a lot of different use cases. Again, the one that we have seen the most is the municipal participation one. But again, I'm a big advocate that this culture of participation should be happening in many different areas of our society. Then we have the whole network part, is basically coordinating all the ecosystem of developers, of end users, of advocates around basically this code base of Consul Democracy, and making sure that the network is alive, thriving, and has all the tools it needs to go forward. And the third pillar will be the advocacy. Also, what I've been doing in the second question you had, Aneta, about open source, especially when it comes to public administration. And you'll see later that's what you call like digital public goods. It's this open source used for public administration processes. Diving in the tool and its use cases of the Consul Democracy platform. There's 5 main modules. The first one will be the basically opening a space for debates. You can see basically a Reddit for where any citizens with the right authentication could basically, it's a channel, free and open, a bit more chill channel, not so robust in terms of not so protocolar, where people can discuss basically, push a topic, debate, which is still like, I think it's a channel that we need in our society, and we have it in I guess back in the days Plaza, but now we can like in the center of our cities, but now we also have the tools to make it happen online in I guess in a more moderated and efficient way. Then we have the citizen proposal. This is more of a bottom-up fashion where citizens could basically push projects forward and ask for basically feedback to the entire population. So this is very much like yeah, again, the bottom-up fashion, which is very interesting. It's a bit harder to get all this information and like to have citizens to actually build entire projects, but this can also be done by civil society organizations that do like coalitions and push projects on the platform. Then there's the whole voting thing. It's very simple. It's not only a yes or no voting. It's like basically referendums at whatever scale of the city. It can be at the street level. It can be at the neighborhood level, at the entire city level, and it's mostly a consultative in a consultative fashion to basically understand where people are at. And then there's the participatory budget. This is the mostly used module at Consul. It's the most popular. Most of the implementations of Consul include a participatory budget. And also to start participations, like participation processes, it's a very clear one where basically an organization or a city would push a budget forward. Let's take, I know that Torino did a participatory budget, I think in 2018, with 2 or 3 million that were basically given to the population, being like, hey, decide where it goes. Should it go to children parks? Should it go into like the amelioration of the transportation? Like whatever project comes forward from the citizens and are voted in majority. Well, of course, they need to be feasible and all, but it's basically an organized fashion to decide where budget is allocated. And then there's the whole policy making and basically collaborate on policies. This is we also saw that it was quite important for citizens to act and be active in the policies. And we have a space for this where it's basically think about a collaborative Google Doc. But open source, secure, and just at the level of the city where anyone can access it. More about Consul Democracy is definitely a digital public good. We are part of the Digital Public Good Alliance, and I just wanted to kind of like dive on what it means. Our code is, as again, we are open source, so it makes our code available publicly, and anyone, it's on GitHub. I will send you the link later. But basically, anyone can go ahead, either modify it and push updates or send us update, but also make it their own and basically make it very, very like context sensitive. We fully understand we are a small team and we are trying to make some kind of a tool that can be adapted and configured for any participation use cases. So we actually are encouraging like the modification of the code, where it's like the whole design of the platform can be modified, the entire process, participation process, and how much can people see. Like there's basically full control on anyone that wants to push this forward for their population or for their members if it's an association. By nature, since of the replicability of open source, it's free. It's free to use. The technology is very free. It's public. We are acting as a non-for-profit foundation, so our goal here is not at all profit. It's just basically to have a very functioning technology of participation that is accessible. I was speaking about the licenses. There's several open source licenses. We are operating under the main one. Basically, the only condition, it's free and all, and anyone can use it. The only condition is that whatever is published like not in private but in public spheres has to be published open source as well under the same license. So whoever is gonna, like, again, I will take the example of Torino because we have some members here today. Whatever platform that is built based on the Consul code and that is pushed forward publicly needs to be as well, pushed for anyone to basically reuse it if they see it fit. Maybe Florence is going to see that a lot of the context that has been kind of like a lot of the customization that have been made to adapt to the Torino context are very useful for them, and they might be very happy to take it. It's the whole nature of open source, the whole replicability aspect. About the hosting thing, again, we are a code there that can be basically brought to your own systems and self-hosted. I will talk then about how usually implementation works, but we don't care. We don't take care of hosting the actual software and the data. It's happening usually for big cities in their own systems, and for smaller cities, they usually would outsource the hosting to partners. Just to give you an idea of how different can platforms look like, I just took the one from Madrid, which was the very first Consul Democracy instance, and then the one from Edinburgh and in Sao Paulo. They all look very, very different. The processes are also very, very different there. So yeah, it's just to give you an idea of what's possible and what I meant by this full like customization and configurability. For the tech, maybe there's within the audience there are some very, very technical and like just people that are familiar with the format of repositories on GitHub. Feel free to go and check it out with this QR code. Also wanted to touch upon the fact that we are, well, it's also the goal of our foundation is to like, it's not only like pushing it forward, but also making sure that it stays relevant in our very fastly growing IT world. So yeah, we are constantly developing the tool. It's going in very different directions, but mostly like we've been pushing some AI features. Mostly what we have in mind is that the modules are kind of like robust, I would say classic, like the modules I described earlier, kind of classic modules of participation. We are not pushing that many more modules or features. We are just making sure that they are becoming more inclusive, that they are becoming easier to maintain as organizations, and it's basically like reduce the barriers of entry, making sure that it can be translated in any languages, that some kind of it's much easier to push processes forward, and it's not that time consuming, that there's more security around the authentication, that it's cheaper. The multi-tenancy on the bottom right corner is it's much now. It's basically cities can pull up, like make a pool of 10, 20, 30 cities because they see that they have a similar context of participation, and basically have one platform with sub platforms under it, and so it reduces the cost of implementation drastically. And then the API, this is still happening and going to happen towards the end of this year. Quite excited about this one. It will basically enable a lot of integrations. I'm thinking of, for example, WhatsApp or SMS voting, or just like very quickly you will be able to deliver it on some like you would not need, like the web access would not need to be mandatory to be able to vote or so yeah, it will basically open the door. It will not become so much of a participation tool, but mostly a participation infrastructure, which I find quite exciting. Then to give you an idea of with this software, with this idea of a digital public good, what has been our impact? Again, we've been around, well, Consul Democracy has been around since 2015. It was started in Madrid, and then we built the foundations 4 years after to make sure that the whole community around it was oh, it's getting late on time, Anita. Sorry about this. I will go fast.
I'm keeping an eye on it, but yeah, maybe 5 minutes.
Sounds good. Thank you. I appreciate it. So yeah, we're based in Amsterdam. We're a small team. We're just 4 people, but we have a model with a lot of different partners that enable us to basically push Consul worldwide. We are active in 25 different countries. It was a Spanish project, so initially, and now most of our team, we have 2 in Germany out of 4. So the German ecosystem, Spanish ecosystem, also in Scotland, it's quite big, and then in South America, quite exciting. And now we have a lot of expansion plans in East Africa, in West Africa, in India, and again, the ecosystem is rolling in Europe, which is quite fun. And this is thanks to the way we basically decentralize our operations. We are fully aware that we cannot really apply like our knowledge can only be very, very limited, and like local knowledge about what should participation look like is very context sensitive, and it needs to be like we don't want to impose how participation should be done worldwide. We are basically giving away participation tool that can be adapted to any context, and this is done through basically regional partners that are quite aware of the context again, and tech partners that have the knowledge to push forward these Consul instances. And this, of course, is in the same line of building trust and legitimacy with the people included in these processes. As a small last point, it's a bit of a negative one, but still it's a good disclaimer that I like to say. Technology alone is not enough. It can only do so much. I think it can only work when there's like a very structured rollout, when there's an actual commitment to act about the data received, and of course this local adaptation. So yeah, I think it needs to be like a very thought through process to reach the right people and make sure that whenever they are voicing their ideas or concerns, that they are being heard. Last slide, just to give you some kind of like an engagement thing. If ever you would like to collaborate with us, we are always looking to kind of like make the network more alive and bigger. So please reach out to me. I think you can I'll either send you my email later, or you can contact me on the very closed source LinkedIn platform. And then our community is joining. We're going to be around 200 participants talking about participation and the digital public goods and how we can basically push it forward. It's going to be happening in mid-September in Munich. You can find more info if you click on this QR code. It would be great to have you there. And again, very happy to collaborate and engage in whatever way. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Arnaud. I think we can also plug your event via the Do Impact site. I shared earlier the LinkedIn to our page. Super interesting to listen to you, to also not only explain like what's behind the tool, but the model on which you work, right, for this to be sustainable. So thank you. We're running out of time a little bit. Are there any questions from the audience? If not, we can wrap up. But I would like to thank you all for, I think a really interesting 5th deep dive. We're going to have 2 more of these sessions organized, one most likely in late July, and then we will probably have the final one in August. For those of us who don't want to go on holiday in August and want some mental stimulation, there'll be a final session, so keep tuned. I would really like to thank my 3 speakers today, Francesca, Alessia, and Arnaud. Thanks for joining us. Nice to get to know you, and keep in touch with the project and perhaps future synergies. So great to have you on board. I wish you a nice Thursday, right? And that we keep cool or have a lot of breaks and showers and drinks to survive the hot.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So nice to
Thank you
meet
so
you.
much.
Take care.
Bye.